Hello, and welcome to SUSECon 2022. My name is William Bell, Executive Vice President of Products at PhoenixNAP. And today, we're going to talk a little bit about how you, as an MSP, can get started using SUSE Rancher to help your customers find that transition into their cloud-native future. We're going to cover a wide array of topics. I'm going to introduce you a little bit to PhoenixNAP so we can talk about why MSPs are important to us and our partners at SUSE, as well as cover the whole cloud native landscape and try to help make you understand as an MSP why essentially you should begin helping your customers transition to cloud native applications. I think, and our organization thinks, that MSPs play a critical role in container enablement and delivering managed Kubernetes environments to your customers. And ultimately, SUSE Rancher brings a whole crazy amount of advantages to the table for you as an MSP to help your customers get their modern applications built and to help you as an MSP achieve higher revenues and hold on to those customers as they continue to migrate to the public cloud or to various other services that they can host their applications in. And lastly, we're going to talk about some of the integration work that we've done with SUSE Rancher in our bare metal cloud product to help make it easier for you, the MSP, to get started. As I mentioned before, I run products at PhoenixNAP, and we are a SUSE technology partner. We're integrating great solutions with their product sets. We've started with some cool stuff we're going to talk about around Rancher, and then a host more things to come in the future. A little bit about PhoenixNAP. We're a global infrastructure as a service company. And I think a lot of people talk about infrastructure and providing cloud services, but ultimately we're focused solely on the infrastructure components and the software solutions that make that infrastructure better. We're not a managed services organization. And ultimately, we partner well with MSPs, solution providers that are looking to deliver these solution sets to their customers because we're not competing against each other, right? We're just providing the infrastructure services, and then you take all the rest from there. We've deployed a global footprint of 17 data center and network POP locations around the globe. We're growing that constantly, and we'll add at least 3 more by the end of 2022. So we're helping customers everywhere, all around the world, and MSPs in these regions achieve new solution sets for their customers so that they can grow that revenue and make their customers happier. So let's start by talking a little bit about the cloud native landscape and some of the things that Gartner and CNCF believe are going to be important for the future. And ultimately, we look at cloud native platforms as the foundational components of what organizations are leveraging to build their modern applications. And Gartner says that they believe that 95% of new digital initiatives inside organizations will ultimately find a home on cloud native platforms by 2025. And I know that feels aggressive, but we're seeing it every single day. Customers are trying hard to adopt new technology, specifically Kubernetes, to help manage their applications and their container ecosystem as they build these microservices apps and deliver them to their customers. And when you're interviewing IT leaders, nearly 75% of them are saying that they're going to find a way to grow the use of containers in their organization. And what that means for you as an MSP is potentially transformative, right? If you've been in a business that's been very traditional, this is an opportunity to leap ahead of your customers. And if you're already starting to make way into this line of management, of container ecosystem management, there's a lot of new tools that have come to the market that are going to help you get there faster and really set yourself apart from your competitors. And if you look at that last figure, That is crazy to me that 41% of organizations in North America are currently evaluating or testing Kubernetes in some form. I don't even think that was 15% 2.5, 3 years ago. And I think that that is the wave that we're seeing, right? We saw the hypervisor virtualization wave. It took, 15 years probably to really reach its, complete state, or mostly complete mature state. And I think Kubernetes can get there in 7 or 8 years, which is half the time. And that's just the speed at which organizations are modernizing things and able to develop new technology is just so much greater than it was 15 or 20 years ago. And so if you look at where containers are in 2022, a lot of key takeaways from the CNCF annual survey that I want to try to cover with you guys. And what they're seeing and what we're ultimately seeing as well is Kubernetes is just finally getting mainstream awareness. Like, it's everywhere. My Twitter feed is just inundated with different organizations trying to do things to either make Kubernetes easier, to make the management of containers easier, and organizations that are actually operating it. And what you start to see is that as it becomes more ubiquitous, the organizations are no longer learning about the technology. They have adopted the technology, and now they don't want to take care of it anymore, right? They want to move on to their actual critical core business operations and business application development. And as Kubernetes becomes this ubiquitous, everywhere under the hood platform, the need for managed services goes sky high instantly. And as you see all these applications move towards a more cloud native delivery model, IT teams are trying to focus on the things that make their company money and find those applications that they can run globally, distributed 24/7, cross cloud. And as they do that, they're going to need help. And that's where you as the MSP come in. They're going to need help from you to help you bridge that gap for them. And ultimately, this doesn't come without any costs, right? What some of you may be looking towards, some MSPs do application modernization and development for their customers. And developers that work on the same platforms all the time, building the same applications, especially in this cloud native world, are getting burned out. I think everybody's getting burned out right now because of the last 3 years. But ultimately, if you're developing these modern applications in one singular fashion, in one technology platform, what we're understanding is that the rate and pace of change is so fast that your customers, employees are working to try to find ways to be on that leading edge 24/7. And it is causing attrition. And that is, again, a place where the MSP can step in and fill gaps for their customers. So what's standing in the way? 41% people looking at or adopting Kubernetes in some fashion. What's standing in the way of, a VMware or Red Hat like adoption? And I think ultimately it is the top one. It is this lack of skilled staff. And I don't know that that is so much a skilled staff around Kubernetes as it is anything IT operations oriented. But ultimately, if you can specialize enough to make Kubernetes and as a SUSE partner, Rancher and its associated products a part of your ecosystem, you can drive new customer adoption and revenue more quickly than I think you've seen in the past, right? And you can start breaking down some of the silos in organizations. And, the IT corporate structure is being disrupted constantly today. It is not your mom and dad's IT anymore. This is a group of folks that are under stress. They're being asked by their application teams and engineering teams to go faster, to do things that they've never done before. And you as the MSP have an opportunity to step in and fill all those gaps, almost potentially try to help everybody play nice in the sandbox together, right? And you can be that glue for organizations that maybe are outside of your typical target market, that are a little bit bigger than you normally deal with today. And so, as we move all those applications forward, you're going to continue to see all this weird incompatibility, legacy stuff. And I mean, certainly there's even the old legacy. Now we have the new legacy, which is becoming VMware and other kind of associated hypervisor technologies. But even that, like Rancher with their harvester capability, is trying to bridge this gap of virtual machine and container and make it all work together in kind of a harmonious way. And you can help them with those migrations. You can help those end users with their migrations. And ultimately, if you do all of that stuff right, you put the last bullet point to bed, right? You can help your customer, providing them trained resources, handling their security and compliance concerns, because you're in the driver's seat as you help them transition to this new foundational way of operating. You're in the driver's seat with your customer. And so if you think about all the things we've talked about so far and you start breaking down how managed service providers can play a critical role in this transformation, you begin to see where you have the opportunity to outpace an organization that is distracted by their day-to-day operations. The time is now for traditional MSPs specifically, people that didn't grow up in a cloud native ecosystem, that didn't start their business in AWS. It is time for you to look at the critical capabilities that you can deliver to your customers via Kubernetes, containerization, and modern application transformation. And when you look at all of the ecosystem of people that are engaging with managed service providers, it is companies larger than I think we've ever seen, because organizations have figured out that IT is critical to their business, but it isn't critical that they are handling every component of technology. And for some large organizations, it's kind of becoming impossible for them to handle all of their technology needs internally. And they need skill sets that they just don't have in quantities that they don't have. And this is where the managed service provider can step in and really make a difference. And as all these legacy applications are looking for their new home for the future, right? The MSP is going to play probably the most critical role in bringing those legacy applications from large organizations up into the cloud native future. And then as you look at the smaller organizations, the ones that are still kind of on the sidelines doing things the way that they've done before, I think what you're going to see is a partnering mentality. They're going to look to you as a partner, not a service provider, to help them move their business forward. And that is going to really transform a lot of this ecosystem, the SUSE ecosystem, and specifically their MSP partners. And so let's talk tactically about what you can do for your customers, right? Specifically in managed Kubernetes environments, the focus of my talk is still Kubernetes. We're going to try to stay inside those bounds. But I'm broken down, there's things that you can do around the architecture and delivery of managed Kubernetes environments to help make it easier for your business. I think, first of all, it's putting their mind at ease. It's telling the customer, look, I've done this before. I'm going to help you. I'm going to bring that application into the future, and I'm going to make sure that it's scalable. I'm going to make sure that it's secure, and I'm going to ensure predictability of the performance of that application. That's what they want: scalable, secure, and predictable. And then as you look towards, the opportunities, the for the leading edge, I guess, of Kubernetes and what that can bring to customers, we're seeing huge drive towards this cloud neutral or multi-cloud desire from organizations. They don't want to be locked in any longer to their provider. And they're looking at ways to either stay completely neutral of the public cloud hyperscalers, or at minimum to be architected in such a way that they can run in multiple clouds at the same time. And as you look at what this brings to you from a Kubernetes perspective, please don't forget the other revenue streams that you can create. The stuff that you do today in traditional architectures and traditional applications, it doesn't go away in Kubernetes environments. It's not magically handled for your customer, right? You have an opportunity to help them with infrastructure security, application security, data protection and replication, and networking in general, not just multi-cloud networking, but on-prem to cloud. People are in their houses, they're in offices, they're everywhere now. And providing that networking capability as well as the security around that networking is another additional revenue stream outside of application modernization, outside of hosting and managing the infrastructure of Kubernetes environments. So there is a ton of room in front of the MSP to help them transition their customer and transition their business and ultimately grow their business beyond where it is today, which I think some MSPs possibly considered wasn't possible even 5 years ago. I don't know that a lot of MSPs were sitting there thinking, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to do to double my revenue from here. And so I've talked a lot about the positives, but I don't want to gloss over the things that are going to be problematic for you as the MSP, right? I know a lot of you are listening to my talk today and thinking to yourself, man, Will, I love what you're saying. I want to do that, but I also don't have the people, right? I also don't have the resources to take on a new managed service, call it pillar of my organization, right? In modern applications. But let me tell you that it is worth the investment right here today. It is worth the investment in your people and your customers and their needs to ensure that you have a high level of understanding of the entire cloud native landscape, how applications are being developed, and exactly where they're being hosted and delivered to customers. You can build up skills that help a customer exactly identify the applications that need to be modernized, that should be modernized, and you're in a position to help them choose the right cloud infrastructure service for each one of those applications. No longer do they all have to go to the same place. And once you're there, once you've helped your customer get there, you are going to have to understand a lot of these cloud implementation models. Kubernetes is going to do a ton of things to make the application layer seem like multiple clouds are kind of one global cloud. But bad news for you as the MSP, you're not going to get out of managing the actual cloud infrastructure operations and APIs that run the Kubernetes environments for your customers. So if you're running, in EKS, you're going to have to know Amazon. If you're running in AKS, you're going to have to know Azure. If you're running in GKE, you're going to have to know Google. And if you're running on Phoenix NAP Bare Metal Cloud, you're going to have to know how to provision infrastructure, how to implement security, logical security, how to make operating systems, that power these Kubernetes environments, how to patch them and provision them, right? There's a lot of things that kind of come into play. And you're going if you attempt to add all of this stuff together and make it easy for customers to take care of some of the things themselves, doing self-service across cloud is really difficult. Enabling that self-service deployment for your clients can be really, really difficult. Whereas today, potentially you have a common model that is potentially a two provider model, and you have new apps in, say, one hyperscaler, and you have traditional apps on-prem in a VMware environment. It makes some of the manageability easier. Those applications are not as portable. They're not as easy to just grow and scale. And so, you feel like you might have it under control today. But as you kind of move applications into a ubiquitous landscape of infrastructure deployment, it can become a lot harder. And trust, you're on the hook for 24/7 support. No matter what you tell your customer in terms of your SLAs and delivery models, I think we all know that customers expect you to be there 24/7 for them to help them with their greatest challenges in their greatest time of need. So what does SUSE Rancher do to help make this easier, right? There are, I think, 4 critical ways that SUSE Rancher and PNAP partner with SUSE Rancher can help organizations find this new state. Rancher is going to give you a self-service operational footprint across cloud for most operational tasks, across cloud, and really give you the option, at least, to deliver this self-service enablement to your customer via the Rancher UI. All of the multi-cloud and multi-cluster capabilities in SUSE Rancher help provide you this 30,000 foot view of all of your deployments. And as an MSP, if you're taking care of all that for a customer, potentially for multiple customers, it gives you that single point of management that I think it's critical, that it's not an option, right? You have to have something that gives you that visibility into all of the different operational issues, the efficiency and the use of the infrastructure that you've deployed on, and really ultimately kind of helps kind of driving down cost to a minimum. I think with SUSE Rancher, specifically with Kubernetes, early on, there was a lot of just complex, from scratch scripting and coding that was required to understand how to do anything. And even some very powerful command line tools like kubectl can be so powerful, but very difficult to understand how to use, and ultimately very complex. And Rancher helps simplify that down and put you as the MSP in the driver's seat so that you can more quickly learn how to handle the operational issues and fix the environments as customers adopt Kubernetes for their company. And all of this, as you partner with SUSE and PNAP, we're able to provide you new innovative routes to market. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what that means. But those innovative routes to market and business models are going to help you gain margin in areas that you maybe didn't think was possible, because there's not a lot of room in some other environments to help find revenue for you as the MSP. And so as you look, we talked a little bit about this as we kind of look towards all the things that you can and should be doing. Here are some really good examples. There's probably 25 more, But SUSE Rancher has specific integrations around all of these components that allow you as the MSP to do things on behalf of your customer, or your customer to point click provision things for themselves that can drive revenue for you as the MSP. And I think that cannot be overlooked. It's critical that you understand that those capabilities exist, because not only are they super important for you from a revenue perspective, they're super important for your customer to ensure that they're doing to help keep their applications highly available and secure. And so what does this look like from a PhoenixNet perspective? Well, why are you here talking to us MSPs about SUSE Rancher? Well, I love the technology. We'll start with that. I absolutely think it is best in breed today for Kubernetes management, specifically multi-cluster, multi-cloud. But what we have done is we've begun to really closely partner with SUSE Rancher to deliver on-demand access to these capabilities, so that we're marrying the hosting and infrastructure component, the networking components, and all of the capabilities that SUSE Rancher provides. And we're not just saying, okay, we'll stand up some servers for you and then you can install Rancher on it, and then that's how this solution works. No. Everything via an automation tool. Everything from an infrastructure perspective, and including, I'll show you in a minute, including the implementation of Rancher itself and downstream worker node clusters, is all ready to go, built for you by PNAP, validated by SUSE, to ensure that you are up and running quickly for your customer, and you have the ability to, before you go to production, do test environments, try to understand the product better, and really get to market faster. That is what the power of PhoenixNet BMC and SUSE Rancher bring to the table. And so, putting my money where my mouth is a little bit, I truly mean one-click Rancher-based, Rancher-managed Kubernetes deployments, right? Single node for development, 3-node clusters for production environments, all kinds of advanced configuration options that are built into our automation and delivered on your behalf. This takes hours and hours and hours of work and support tickets and problems, and ultimately wraps them up into 5 to 10 minutes of deployment automation, and hands you a fully functional Rancher environment with an optional workload cluster below that. And so as you look at PhoenixNet Bare Metal Cloud, not only for SUSE Rancher, not only for Kubernetes itself, what we're finding specific to containers, microservices, is that with technologies like Kubernetes and the ecosystem that is around it, organizations don't need hypervisors like they used to. Even when we started in the container ecosystem and we started working on Docker and predecessors, a lot of people thought that the virtual machine was going to continue to be the first-class citizen. And even if you look at the public cloud today and the hyperscalers, they still run Kubernetes on virtual machines. But let me be clear. They don't do that for performance reasons. They don't do that for security reasons any longer. They do that to make their lives easier. They do that to make, to give them the ability to be as efficient as possible, even if it sometimes means performance and predictability problems for the customer. And so we created Bare Metal Cloud to give you a data center on demand, to build the infrastructure in an OpEx environment instantaneously via API, but then enable you to be cloud neutral, to build the applications that you want with us and to go elsewhere for the things that you want to consume. And all of this is delivered using cloud native tools, tons of integrations that we've built out, and on demand and pay as you go. All of those common business models of public cloud are intact, but now you have a new consumption model. You have a new infrastructure delivery model, an instantaneous access to metal that you can deliver any type of application you want. And for production applications, one that you know is going to be more secure, more predictable, and ultimately more neutral, avoiding that cloud lock of the public cloud hyperscaler environment. And I think critically for MSPs, it's going to put money in your pocket, because the TCO advantages that you can get as the MSP by using metal that is managed for you are absolutely significant. And we would love to talk to you about that, both the Rancher side and the PhoenixNet Bare Metal Cloud side. And what I want to talk about right here today, for the first time, we've partnered with Rancher to be able to deliver support licensing as part of this delivery model. So coming soon, you will have the option to not only deploy a production-ready automated Rancher cluster with workload downstream clusters attached, you'll also be able to get support from PNAT for that environment. And we're working hand in hand with SUSE to deliver that to you, the MSP, so that you can be successful for your customers. And with that, I want to thank everyone for coming to my session today. Listen to me talk a little bit about how maybe you as an MSP can transform your business. And hopefully everyone has an amazing SUSECon Digital 2022 and learns so much new things that they can for their company and possibly their business. I'm William Bell, Executive Vice President of Products at PhoenixNet. Thank you very much.